Just moments ago, we heard from Vice President Kamala Harris for the first time since the election last night. Earlier in the day, the vice president called the president-elect Donald Trump, congratulating him on winning the election and highlighting the importance of a peaceful transfer of power.
Let's listen to some of what she said just moments ago.
The outcome of this election is not what we wanted, not what we fought for, not what we voted for. But hear me when I say, the light of America's promise will always burn bright. As long as we never give up and as long as we keep fighting.
The Associated Press called that race around 4:30 this morning our time after President-elect Trump won Wisconsin, which pushed him over the 270 electoral votes he needed in order to win.
We heard from the president-elect Donald Trump overnight as he prepares for his next 4 years in office.
I will fight for you, for your family, and your future. Every single day I will be fighting for you, and with every breath in my body.
Now, of course, in addition to the presidency, the Republican Party also won control of the United States Senate last night.
Yeah, wins in a handful of key races really helped ensure that majority. So here in Texas, the Senate seat did not flip. Senator Ted Cruz beat out Congressman Colin Allred, winning more than 53% of the vote. Cruz declared victory in front of an energetic crowd and thanked Congressman Allred for a tough race.
The people of Texas have spoken. And their message rings clear as a bell across our great state. Texas will remain Texas. And I want to say to all of those who didn't support me, you have my word that I will fight for you, for your jobs, for your safety, and for your constitutional rights.
During his concession speech, Representative Allred said he won't stop fighting for Texas and the country. He also thanked voters for taking part in the election.
And so I don't want to see anybody putting their heads down. I want you to put your shoulders back and your head up and walk out of here tall that you participated in an American election. That's what we do. Because in this country, we don't settle our differences in the streets. We don't settle it with violence. We settle it at the ballot box. And if we don't win, then we dust ourselves off and we come back the next time. Okay?
So let's take a closer look at this race with the touch screen behind us. Colin Allred won just 19 of Texas' 254 counties, got just under 5 million votes statewide. He did end up pulling ahead, though, in a county we were watching last night, Ashley, in North Texas, Tarrant County, which is kind of part of his home area there in North Texas.
Right. And for a long time, it was Senator Cruz in the lead in this county. And you can see, Brian, just how close it is. This is one of those things where you're talking about a little more than 1,200 votes. Every vote counts. But he needed not only this area, Brian, but he needed to do far better along the border if he was going to be successful last night.
There were some significant differences, Ashley, between last night and 2018 when Ted Cruz faced off against Beto O'Rourke. Look at the difference in the blue here between 6 years ago and last night. And I do want to point out some of the things that I was looking at earlier today, especially these three counties. Look at the difference. As we touch Starr County,
right,
49% for Cruz, 22% for Cruz 6 years ago. That's a 76 to 47 difference in 6 years. The county right next to that, significant story here, Zapata County, 62% for Beto O'Rourke, 45. And one more, pretty significant difference here along the border. Immigration, a big, big topic for a lot of these counties. Ted Cruz won it last night. Ted Cruz, 27% 6 years ago. That's a huge swing along those very important border counties that Colin Allred really needed to do well.
He needed them. And, let's take a step back. Congressman O'Rourke had an advantage here. He was from El Paso. He spent a lot of time on the border. His messages really resonated with people, right? When it came to border communities, he's from the border. Now, Colin Allred tried to sell that. He said, his grandfather's a border patrol agent. He spent a lot of time on the border, but I don't think that message resonated, particularly when you think about the national rhetoric and what we're hearing nationally about immigration, about border security, the votes that Allred had on whether or not we should build a wall, those security things that Senator Cruz constantly and consistently talked about his voting record. Mm-hmm. And that's where you see that it really showed up, because in order to win, if you think about it, so Beto O'Rourke, this was the closest anyone has ever come in a long time, a Democrat has ever come to overturning a Republican in decades, right? This was the tightest race, and you needed to maintain this, and you needed to excel on it, and that just didn't happen.
It didn't happen, but let's look at the totals. Votes yesterday and early voting 2 weeks prior to yesterday, 11,224,000. This, of course, not a presidential election. This was a midterm in 2018. More than 3 million, or right around 3 million less votes cast 6 years ago. So the voters were there. More than 11 million votes were cast yesterday, but still not enough support along those border communities and some of the urban areas that he needed. But it is interesting to see our three mid counties here in Central Texas, Williamson, Travis, and Hays, once again, all blue for the Senate race.
And now this is interesting because, you and I talked about this a lot last night. Pay attention to Williamson County. Williamson County went blue, but not for the Senate, but for the Senate only. When it came to the presidential race, and I think we also saw this, Brian, when we started looking at some of the local races there, the sheriff's race, for instance, in Williamson County, it was and not just a little red, significantly red there compared to the Senate race.
It's really interesting to see those numbers. And again, I'm impressed by the voter turnout. That's what we've been talking about.
Yes.
People need to get out and vote. It looks like a lot of people did, more than 11 million people this time.
Indeed, they did.